All right, folks, buckle up because we're about to take a wild ride through the fascinating and tumultuous history of Zimbabwe's currency. It's a story full of twists, turns, and enough economic jargon to make your head spin. But don't worry, we'll navigate through it together. But don't worry, I'm here to break it down for you, daily show style, with a touch of humor and simplicity. Zimbabwe, once known as the breadbasket of Africa, has seen its economy go through more ups and downs than a roller coaster at an amusement park. You get the picture. From colonial rule to independence, from periods of relative stability to hyperinflation so severe it makes your head hurt, Zimbabwe's currency has seen it all. It's a saga of resilience and struggle. We're talking about a country where, at one point, you needed a wheelbarrow full of cash just to buy a loaf of bread. Imagine that. Talk about inflation. It was so rampant that prices could change within hours. You could practically watch the prices rise while you were standing in line at the store. It was a surreal experience for many. But hey, it's not all doom and gloom. There's a silver lining to this story. Zimbabweans are incredibly resilient people, and they've found innovative ways to adapt and survive. From mobile money solutions to thriving small businesses, they've shown remarkable ingenuity. So let's dive into the nitty-gritty of Zimbabwe's currency roller coaster and see what valuable lessons we can learn from this extraordinary economic adventure. It's a ride you won't want to miss. Our story begins with the Rhodesian dollar, the currency in use from the 1960s to 1980, back when Zimbabwe was still under white minority rule called Rhodesia. This period was marked by significant social and economic disparities. Now, I'm not saying this currency was racist, but let's just say it wasn't exactly designed with equality in mind. The economic policies were skewed to favor a select few. The Rhodesian dollar was pegged to the British pound, which sounds fancy, but it mainly benefited the white minority who held most of the economic power. This created a system where wealth was concentrated in the hands of a few. Think of it like this. Imagine a school cafeteria where one group of kids gets all the pizza and the rest gets scraps. The disparity was glaring and deeply entrenched. Not exactly a recipe for a happy student body, right? The same went for the general population under this economic system. But then came 1980 and Zimbabwe gained its independence. This was a monumental shift in the nation's history. Fireworks, celebrations, a new era of hope. The air was filled with optimism and the promise of a better future. And with it, the birth of a new currency, the Zimbabwe dollar. This symbolized a fresh start and the potential for economic reform. The Zimbabwe dollar was born amidst a wave of optimism. Finally, a currency for the people, by the people. Things were looking up for a while. The economy was stable and the Zimbabwe dollar held its own. But then, things took a turn. Land reforms, aimed at addressing the inequalities of the past, led to economic sanctions from Western countries. Combine that with some questionable government policies, and you've got yourself a recipe for disaster. And disaster struck in the form of hyperinflation. We're talking about prices doubling, tripling, quadrupling, basically exploding faster than a popcorn kernel in a microwave. People were walking around with backpacks full of cash just to buy groceries. It was chaos. Section 4. A multi-currency basket life after the dollar's fall. By 2009, the Zimbabwean dollar was about as useful as a screen door on a submarine. Hyperinflation had rendered it practically worthless, and people were desperate for a solution, so the government did something drastic. They ditched their own currency and adopted a multi-currency system. This was a bold move, but it was necessary to stabilize the economy. Suddenly, the US dollar, the South African rand, and a few other currencies became legal tender. This meant that people could use these foreign currencies for everyday transactions. It was like Zimbabwe's economy became a United Nations of money. Different currencies flowed freely, creating a unique economic environment. And you know what? It kind of worked. The markets were bustling again and people were able to buy and sell goods with more confidence. Inflation stabilized and people could actually afford things again. Shelves in supermarkets were stocked and the economy showed signs of recovery. But relying on foreign currencies had its downsides. It wasn't a perfect solution, and there were significant challenges. It made it hard for Zimbabwe to control its own monetary policy and left it vulnerable to fluctuations in the global market. The country had to navigate these complexities carefully. Section 5. Bond notes and coins. a controversial solution. Fast forward to 2016 and Zimbabwe faced a new problem, a shortage of US dollars. Remember that multi-currency system? Well, it turns out people were hoarding US dollars like they were going out of style. So the government introduced bond notes and coins, a kind of surrogate currency pegged to the US dollar. The idea was to ease the cash shortage and give Zimbabwe more control over its monetary policy. But here's the thing, people were skeptical. They remembered the hyperinflation nightmare and worried that bond notes were just the Zimbabwean dollar in disguise. And you know what they say? Once bitten, twice shy. Don't miss a notification. Subscribe now at Seeds of Wisdom Team and the newsletter seedsofwisdomteam.com. Thank you.